Hi, Kindies! I have another story to read to you today. It's one of my favorites from when I was a little girl, and in fact, the book is from my childhood. It's very old, as you can see, and loved. And I loved this book because the main character, the bull, has a really good, strong sense of who he is, and he doesn't worry about what other people think of him, and he doesn't try and change who he is to fit in. And so for that, I think he is a hero. And I also think he is just very peaceful. So here we go. It's called Ferdinand, and it's by Monroe Leaf, and it is set in Spain. And I should tell you that in Spain, they have a tradition of bullfights where they take a bull to the ring and try and provoke the bull to get angry, and then the matador tries to kill the bull. But it's very dangerous. The bull could definitely kill the person, the matador also. But it's cruel, and so a lot of people have been protesting in Spain this tradition and saying that it shouldn't be any longer allowed. But because it's been around for so long, people are having a hard time letting it go. So they still do it today. But in any case, this bull is different. So here we go. El toro feroz means the fierce bull. Ferdinand. The story of Ferdinand. Once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. But not Ferdinand. He liked to sit just quietly and smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot in the pasture under a cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in its shade all day and smell the flowers. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. "Why don't you run and play with the other little bulls and skip and butt your head?" she would say. But Ferdinand would shake his head. "I like it better here, where I can just sit quietly and smell the flowers." His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she let him just sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. He's 2 years old now, and he's full grown, looks like. All the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight at the bullfights in Madrid. There's the advertisement for the bullfight. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to sit just quietly under the cork tree and smell the flowers. One day, 5 men came in very funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. Funny faces. All the other bulls ran around snorting and butting and leaping and jumping so the men would think they were very, very strong and fierce and pick them. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him, and he didn't care. So he went to his favorite cork tree to sit down. He didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on the nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him. And that is just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Wow, did it hurt. Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around, puffing and snorting, butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him, and they all shouted with joy. Here was the largest and fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. So they took him away for the bullfight day in a cart. What a day it was. Flags were flying, bands were playing, and all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. They had a parade into the bull ring. First came the banderilleros, with long sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick in the bull and make him mad. Next came the picadores, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him madder. Then came the matador, the proudest of them all. He thought he was very handsome and bowed to the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword and was supposed to stick the bull last of all. Then came the bull, and you know who that was, don't you? Can you see? It says Ferdinand. And over here, there he is. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and the banderilleros were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. He's sweating. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers and all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat down quietly and smelled. He wouldn't fight and be fierce, no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled. And the banderilleros were mad, and the picadores were madder, and the matador was so mad he couldn't show off because he couldn't show off with his cape and sword, and so he cried. He's covering his face. He can't bear to be seen. So they had to take Ferdinand home. And for all I know, he is sitting there still under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. He is very happy. The end. So that's my story for you today. And my question is, do you think it took a lot of courage for Ferdinand to sit in the bull ring and not do anything? Let's see if I can find that picture. Oh, here it is. Did that take a lot of courage to do that? Or do you think he was just being who he was? What do you think? well, I miss you terribly and can't wait to see your faces on Zoom sometime soon. Until then, I love you and I miss you. Bye-bye.